Technique number 3 of our 7-part program is called the circle of control. Let's take a look at our circle of control here, and I want you to draw one on your own page. Draw a large circle, and on the outside of the circle, I want you to write down things that you cannot control. For example, the weather. Everyone is talking about the weather, but no one is doing anything about it. So we worry about the weather. What's going to be tomorrow? What's going to be like next week? Is it going to be a bad winter, a good winter, too hot, too cold? But we can't do anything about the weather. Is it going to rain tomorrow on our barbecue? Is it going to rain on our game? Are we going to have to cancel it? What's the alternative plan for the summer camp? We have an indoor plan. We worry about the weather, but we cannot control it. But we're anxious about it. What about other people's feelings, words, actions, or reactions? We worry about what our spouse is going to say, what our children are going to say, what our children are doing, but we cannot control them. We'd like to control what our children say. We'd like to control their behavior and what they're involved in, and their friends, and their behavior in class and in shiur, and there'll be a masmid or there'll not be a masmid. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about my children, who they're going to marry, if they're going to marry, when they're going to marry. I worry about those things. But I cannot control those things. I worry about whether America will declare war on Syria or not, or Afghanistan. But I can't control it. I cannot control Obamacare. I'm worried about it. I cannot control other people's issues in my relationship, or what they say or what they do. But I worry about them. A great part of low self-esteem, which causes low self-esteem, is anxiety. I am worried about what's going to be. I'm worried about outcomes. I'm worried about how my kids are going to turn out, who they're going to marry. Hopefully they will marry. My marriage, my parnasa, my future. I worry. I worry about tomorrow, and it invades my thoughts, and I get obsessional thinking, and I get anxious thoughts, and I worry and about my decisions, or whether I'm doing the right thing, or did I do the right thing, or will I do the right thing? We worry. We're worriers. We're anxious. This zaps and saps our energy and our sense of self, and it incapacitates us. All worry is about the future or the past. I'm worried about what's going to be, or I'm worried about my previous decisions, what was in the past, or what someone said to me in the past. Worry is about the future or about the past. Who is in charge about the future? Who is in charge of the future of what's going to be? Me or Hashem? Obviously, Hashem is in charge of outcomes. Hashem is in charge of ototzaos, of future outcomes. He is in charge of what's going to be, and He is in charge of the future, of the past, of what happened in the past. But what do we worry about? Exactly those things. We worry about what's going to be, and our marriages, and our future, and our parnasa, and what's going to be tomorrow. And we worry about, why did I do that? Why did I say that last week or last month or 16 years ago? And we ruminate, and we think about, and we introspect about things that happened in the past that we can't do anything about. They plague us. The future and the past get in our way. We worry about those things, but they belong to Hashem. So let's think about that. We worry about something which is not within our jurisdiction. Worry and anxiety is a hashkafa issue. We're worried about something that belongs to Hashem. Hashem deals with the future. He will determine outcomes. He will determine when my child gets married and what my marriage will turn out to be and my parnasa tomorrow. So therefore, why do I spend time worrying about something that Hashem can take care of? Do I believe that Hashem is not doing a good enough job? I have to help Him with this thinking? Don't I understand that Hashem is in charge of everything? Hu kol yachol? He can do everything and anything. He does everything. Why am I trying to help Him by worrying about something which is in His jurisdiction? I am usurping His jurisdiction by worrying about something in the future which I have no control over. But I worry anyway. Of course, it's easier said than done. Sure, it's Hashem's job to worry about the future and to deal with the future, but I still worry about it. Well, it's a wrong hashkafa. If you reframe your thinking and say, 1 second, my job is not to worry about the future or the past. My job is to live in the present and write down in the center of the circle what you can do now in the present tense to deal with your situation, to deal with the issue, to prepare your child for marriage, to work on your marriage, to go on an outing with your spouse once a week, to spend time 5 minutes a day talking to your spouse, to learn with your child with love. And I'm worried about my child. Well, then learn with them. If a child says, I'm worried about my exam, I don't know what I'm going to do with my exam, I say, well, sit down and study. I'm so worried about it. Well, let's sit down and study together. I don't know how to study. Let's learn study techniques. Let's work together, and I'll prepare every night, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Prepare a strategy. So instead of worrying about what's going to be, what's outside my circle of control, let's look at this. And we look at what is inside our circle of control. Let's write down what I can do in the present moment to deal with that situation. The only thing I can do is deal with my feelings, my words, my actions, and my reactions now. This is in the hoveh, the present tense. To get rid of my anxiety and my worry about what I cannot control is by focusing on what I can do now in the present tense. This is called living now. Living in the present, being present and saying, I'm not going to worry, I'm going to act, I'm going to do, I'm going to live now. I need to get out of my head, out of my worry, and into my deeds, into my actions. We are not a faith of creed, of beliefs. We are a faith of deed, of mitzvah, of doing, of na'aseh v'nishma, of action, tachlis. So instead of worrying, I need to reframe my approach to life and say, I'm going to act and deal with the here and now. But I don't know if I can do it. I doubt myself. I question myself. I don't know if I can deal with the here and now. That's where this wheel is superimposed on this wheel. This wheel of my control is superimposed on this wheel of my wheel of strengths. So I can take care of my needs in the present. I can act and deal with the present and deal with my situation and handle it. You know why? Because I have the intellectual strength, the social skills, the kochos, the spirituality, the family background, and the accomplishments to deal with my situation. I can handle this situation. So my wheel of strengths is superimposed on my circle of control. And my circle of control is overlaid on top of my wheel of strengths. My core sense of self tells me I can handle this situation. And then I can live in the present because I can draw upon my strengths. That's why I want you to draw upon this and use the wheel of strengths. Our technique number 1, have a picture of it on your fridge, on your car, in your car, by your computer, by your night table. I want you to have 4 copies of this wheel of strengths. Everywhere you turn, you'll have this wheel of strength somewhere. And you're going to every night write down what you did that day to actualize, to bring to effect, to bring into action those aspects of self, my intellectual self. How I used my mind today to solve a problem. I use my social skills to phone up someone who's not doing well and say, I'll give you encouragement. To my midos, to my chesed, to my spirituality, to connect with Hashem, to talk to Hashem about my challenges. My family, I'll be there for my spouse, my child. Learn with my child. Accomplishments, I'm going to grow and work on my patience and my self-control. Every day you're going to be able to write down what you worked on, what you did to develop yourself. And therefore, after the end of the week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you'll be able to say, you know what? I am working on myself. I am strengthening my sense of self where I can actualize myself and live in the present. I can deal with this challenge. That's what self-esteem means. I can handle this problem. I can deal with it. Now let's move to technique number 4.
And once you need them again, you should move the things out of the way.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So that was the TAC team. That was we've gone from cognitive to emotional to practical. Is that correct?
Yes,
Like my circle of control, how can I
that's
interact practically in the world?
That's correct. That's correct. Very good. So I should have said that. Should I say that? I should say that. Let me bring that back. Good point.
Okay.
Can we just say that now? We'll tack that on to the end. Good point. So this technique number 3, the circle of control, brings us now to our aspect of the tahtim, the aspect of the guf, the behavioral self, that I'm able to act in the present time by living in the present, in the asiya, in the world of asiya, in the world of doing and action, and actually actualize my potential in the present time by doing. So our technique number 1 dealt with the mind, the neshama self, the mind self, the intellectual self. That is the shlishim. The emotional self, the ruach, the soul state, technique number 2, dealt with the level 2 of the teva, which is the emotional middle floor, the animal emotional self within myself. And this aspect is the guf, dealing with the ability to act in the present. So we have the shlishim, the top level of the teva, which is the mind, the wheel of strengths, the shni'im, the middle level, which is the ruach, the emotional self, and the tahtim, the action self, represented by the wheel of strengths, where I can act and live together. Now, of course, all of these 3 interact with each other, they overlap each other, but in this terms of acting now, we can live now by putting in my hishtadlus, my effort. Bitachon means that I have emunah, Hashem will take care of everything, but I have to act and live in the present moment with my hishtadlus to live now. That is my effort, my job in the present time. I cannot live in the future, and I can't deal with the past, because it's over. The future hasn't happened, the past is over. The only place where I can act and operate is in the present. I put in my hishtadlus, act with bitachon, that I can act and I can affect. I am batuach. Bitachon means batuach. I am sure that I can act by believing in myself. Access my mind self, saying I can have a wheel of strengths. Access my emotional self by grounding myself, and then tachlis, act, live now. Naaseh v'nishma, act and live in the present tense to take care of what I need to take care of in the present.